National final season is well underway for Eurovision 2022 and we have already had some real highs and some real lows.
Instead of meat, I eat veggies
and it truly wouldn't be a Eurovision national final season unless we had some dramatic moments along the way. With over 60 years of national finals to choose from, it's very easy to find some of the really great moments, some of the really bad ones, and some truly too weird to describe. So today I thought it would be fun to take a little bit of a trip down memory lane and have a look at some of those more infamous moments from national finals past. My name is Chris and these are 4 dramatic Eurovision national finals. Number 1, Spain 2017. This year Spain returns to the multi-artist, multi-song national final format, a tried, true and tested formula that they have used many times before. And they'll be hoping that Benidorm Fest, their 2022 edition, doesn't quite end up the same way that the 2017 national final ended up like, where one of the jury members got assaulted by the audience. You see, the 2017 national final, Objetivo Eurovision, was a multi-stage affair. Eurovision fans entered the final of Objetivo Eurovision with 2 particular favourites. First of all, there was Clean with her song Ouch. Now she won through 3 different rounds of internet voting to actually make it to the grand final, definitely instilling her as a fan favourite along the way. Joining her amongst the favourites was Mirella with her song Contigo. A fun summer bop, it was an obvious Eurovision fan favourite from the very first time people heard it. Also entering Objetivo Eurovision though was rising star Manel Navarro. He had recently been signed to Sony in Spain and was getting quite a lot of radio airtime, particularly on the show of DJ Xavi Martinez. The final was your typical 50-50 jury televote split, with Manel first winning the jury vote with 34 points, whilst Leclerc and Mirella were tied in 3rd on 22. But then when the public votes were revealed, Manel was only in 3rd place with 24 points, Leclerc finished in 2nd with 30, and Mirella won the public vote with 36. Which meant that in the end there was a dead heat between Mirella and Manel on 58 points. Now you would probably expect that, as in Eurovision, the public vote would be the tiebreaker here, which would of course given the victory to Mirella. But that wasn't the case in Objetivo Eurovision. You see, here it was the 3-person jury who would once again get to have their say and ultimately decide who was going to Kiev. And you can probably guess how that went. Manel won with the jury voting 2-1 in his favour, and he was promptly booed by many of the Spanish Eurovision fans in the audience.
Muchísimas gracias. Bueno, Manel, Navarro is...
You see, not only was Mirella the favourite of those fans going into the show, but they also had suspicions that at least one of the jurors was already biased in Manel's favour going into Objetivo Eurovision. Amongst the jury members that night was the radio DJ Xavi Martinez, the same person who had been giving Manel lots of promotion and airplay on his show heading into the contest. To many it seemed like it was a foregone conclusion, and Martinez was apparently assaulted by fans in the audience before the show even went off the air. Despite petitions to try and reverse the decision, this particular Eurodrama didn't change course. Manel promptly went off to do it for his lover in Kiev, and that of course went perfectly. Oh right, yeah, no, that happened. Number 2, Austria 1990. Austria aren't a country you typically associate with Eurovision drama, but their 1990 selection ended up having a double dose of it. Amongst the acts lining up for the final was the band Duett, who, unsurprisingly, were performing a duet. Performing 8th in the final, they launched into their song Das Beste, and all was going well for the first minute, until... the female singer Monica fainted and collapsed, bringing the performance to an abrupt end. As Monica was being tended to, the show went to a quick break and then continued on as normal. But then, after the final performance, Duett were welcomed back on stage to try and give their performance another go. This time there was no such drama. Monica managed to make it through the song in its entirety, and perhaps unsurprisingly, Duett then won the national final with a commanding 40% of the final vote. Of course, as soon as the result was announced, there were some critics who wondered whether Duett would have actually won the contest had it not been for the fainting moment. Some even put forward the idea that it was staged to try and improve their chances. Whether the fainting was real or fake though, there was one other problem facing Duett. You see, Das Beste sort of sounded familiar to some people in the know. Duett apparently had just forgotten that they had entered the song into the 1988 German selection. And whilst the rules may have been slightly more liberally applied in recent years, back then you definitely could not have performed the song before. Duett were promptly disqualified when this was found out, and Simone, the national final runner-up, went to fly the Austrian flag in Zagreb instead. No word on whether or not Duett fainted when they heard that news. Number 3, Ukraine 2010. Honestly, this entire video probably could have been filled with Ukrainian national finals.
So, I have a very uncomfortable question to you.
But the 2010 selection stands out for its sheer ridiculousness, especially given that the song that ended up representing Ukraine that year didn't win either of the 2 national finals that were held. The initial plan was that Ukraine were going to internally select Vasyl Lazaroyvch. They planned a 5-song national final where viewers would be able to choose which song Vasyl would sing in Oslo. The controversy began almost straight away though, with some people claiming that Vasyl was only chosen because he was friends with the head of the broadcaster NTU. But regardless of those complaints, the national final went ahead on March 5th, with I Love You chosen as Vasyl's song for Oslo.
I love you, I love you, I love you.
But then 10 days later, there suddenly seemed to be a change of heart. Rumours started to go around that NTU were planning a second national final. This one would be open to all artists, as apparently NTU just forgot it was against their own rules to have a 1-artist selection. Don't quite know how you could forget your own rules, but hey, sure, whatever. On March 17th, NTU confirmed they were hosting a second national final on March 20th. 3 days notice, 2 days before they actually had to officially submit their song for Eurovision. Chill. Somewhat remarkably, they actually ended up with a 20-song national final, including the likes of Lazaroyvch, Max Barsky, and even poor Vasyl, who was trying once again with I Love You. It came 7th. Of course, the national final was won by Alyosha, but maybe not with the song you're expecting. That was To Be Free, Alyosha's winning national final song. But very quickly it became apparent that To Be Free sounded an awful lot like a 2008 song called Knock Me Out. In the end, Ukraine were able to scramble together and select Sweet People as Alyosha's song 2 days after the deadline with special permission from the EBU. And despite all of that, Ukraine still finished in the top 10, proving that they really are just that good at Eurovision. Number 4, Germany 2015. Germany's national final run from 2013 to 2016 were a little hit and miss. At the same time, they had some truly standout songs that, at least in my opinion, were often overlooked by the German public. And yes, I am mostly talking about Lang. But for all those good performances, these national finals are probably most remembered for the dying moments of the 2015 edition, Unser Song for Österreich. After 2 rounds of voting, we were whittled down to a final 2 super final, with plucky underdog Anne-Sophie and her song Black Smoke going up against Voice of Germany winner and runaway favourite Andreas Kummert's Heart of Stone. Lo and behold, Andreas won, and the celebrations immediately began. Host Barbara Schöneberger announced the results and they went to ask Andreas his feelings. And then...
Ich gebe meinen Titel an Anne-Sophie.
Yeah, turns out Andreas didn't want to go to Eurovision after all. In the heat of the moment, Andreas decided that Anne-Sophie was more prepared and qualified to go to Eurovision and represent Germany, which obviously turned out well. And as Barbara comprehended what was happening, she would indeed award the title to Anne-Sophie, to a bemused at best crowd reaction. What made it worse in the days to come was when it was revealed that Andreas won the superfinal with 80% of the vote. Now personally, I can understand that maybe in that moment it really did hit Andreas, and if that was the right decision for him, then that was the best thing he could do. But at the same time, surely the thought must have crossed his mind earlier on, at least either during rehearsals or even as the show was going on. He could have pulled out before the superfinal, giving the German public a chance to make their own choice, and hell, maybe even this would have gone to Vienna instead. Not bitter at all. So those were 4 of the most dramatic, infamous, and maybe most confusing moments from Eurovision national finals. Obviously there are so many more moments that I couldn't possibly fit them all in this one video, and maybe in the future I'll do a follow-up. Let me know down in the comments what some of your favourite scandalous or dramatic moments are from national final history, and who knows, maybe we'll even get some from 2022 to add to the list. As always, please do leave a like, it really does help, and you can share and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, look after yourselves, stay safe, be kind to each other, and I will see you all soon. Bye all!